My name is Ryan Funk. Thank you for joining us. This is We Stand Together. It's an opportunity to learn about the history of residential schools, day schools, the 60s scoop, and intergenerational survivors. For many, the stories and the challenges that Indigenous people have gone through is just mind-boggling. We have the opportunity to connect with individuals to learn more about this. Today, we have Gail Pruden, or Cookham Gail.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us.
Hani kanimit makonde gomaktam tuta. Me wayan istamagi gagi tonagi magtuan no como koigi ke goi kawani keken wagi tonagi semini guisen. Me gotapet me tone minikchap matsen. And my name is Gail Pruden. I am from Treaty 2, but I reside in Treaty 1. And I introduced myself in my spirit name, and I also explained about my language, that I speak Ojibwe fluently, and my grandmother that raised me always reminded us as children, never lose this language that Creator gifted us. So that's what I said in my introduction. So I am a two-spirited trans. I am called Cookham Gail, and I love that. The reason being is because what I like doing is breaking doors open where trans for the youth and two-spirit have no access of getting in. It's unsafe. For me, I go in and I'm always in the front line, putting myself in front, explaining to people like we are people. It doesn't matter if it's ceremony, Sundance, powwow, we do exactly the same thing. We know protocol as everybody else does. So there should be no reason why we can't be involved in everything that society has to offer. So we need to open up these doors, especially for the younger generations, where I compare from my experience being a young person at the age of maybe 20 or 21, around there, in the early 80s, where it was AIDS back then. It was a pandemic that was killing everybody left and right. Back then, being a two-spirit and trans, we had no place in society. We were total garbage to everybody and anybody. Anywhere that we went, we had no respect from nobody. So this is where our community came, our close-knit community, as meeting one another. They were running away from their reservations because of being beaten up or being molested by family. They had no place to go. The only thing they could do is run away from the reservation, go to the city. And there's nothing they could do because we had no resources. We had nobody at all to talk to. We were just on our own. And I'm talking about trans, not gay men or gay women. It was just us trans, Anishinaabe trans. And it's a sad memory because, like I said, we had no human rights. For example, I remember there must have been about 13, 15, maybe 20 of us. And at that time, where we all took care of one another, we cared for each other. If somebody went missing, we'd go out looking for them until they came back and brought them to safety. I remember we were walking down Portage Avenue one day, just being happy in broad daylight. Of course, we didn't wear any women's clothes, but we put on our makeup, feeling beautiful, being ourselves. Out of nowhere, we got attacked by, I don't know how many of those men came out of nowhere. And we were small, we were petite, we couldn't defend ourselves. And started getting beaten up by 2x4s out of nowhere. And we all fell to the ground, getting hit. like we were just in shock. We couldn't do nothing to defend ourselves. And I remember getting hit twice in the back, and that hurts. I remember that pain. I remember laying there. But as I laid there, I seen the police go by, and they didn't even do a thing. They just looked. And then even public was walking by. They didn't do nothing. They didn't say anything. Because of who we were, they thought it was okay for us to get beaten up. And after that, they took off, somewhat laughing, think they did a good thing. So what can we do? All we did at that time was do drugs and alcohol. We gathered each other up in pain. I remember I was barely walking myself. We were helping each other, struggling, and we just laughed it off when we got drunk and life went on. Today, you can't do that to a two-spirit. There's human rights, and back then we had nothing. And when it came to getting sick at home, none of them wanted to go to the hospital. I'd never caught HIV. I know Creator's been taking care of me since I can remember. But a lot of them did. So I can say I lived through HIV and AIDS because I watched them die right by their bedside, right until it was close for them to die, is when they finally went to the hospital and died there. And they were treated awful. There was no respect whatsoever. I remember the people that used to come in and take care of my friend would be would be all dressed in yellow anyways, and really roughing up my friend. He was almost dying, and I throw them out, tell me what to do. I'll do it myself. And I wasn't scared. I didn't have gloves. I didn't have protection because this is my sister that's laying here dying. My family. So it was it's something harsh trauma that I live with, and I know it's going to stay with me for the rest of my life. This is why I fight so hard for the younger generation to continue what they're doing. They need to be lifted. They need to be put up there in pedestals where we once belonged. We're not there anymore, but we are getting there with the respect of allies. And when we talk about residential school, day school, I did attend day school. It was harsh simply because we had to learn the English language, and being on a reservation, all we spoke was the Ojibwe language. So we were forced to go into these schools and learn the English language. It was hard in the school, it was hard outside the school. Simply because if we spoke our language, out of nowhere we'd get hit for nothing. And when we went outside for recess, we're making fun of each other because we didn't have that English accent. So it was hard both ways. We couldn't go home and complain because we'd be troublemakers if we try to say anything. So we're always told, just don't say anything. Today, now I have a voice and I'll say what I need to say without being traumatized or being hit. And it was really harsh in those days where we were always getting hit by whoever that woman was. And that's something that I prayed for her and I forgave her. Because she was only there not knowing what she was doing, thinking she was doing right, by trying to take away our Anishinaabe-ness out of us. But that still happens today, but it's not going to happen. We've always been here and we always will be here. As a matter of fact, they changed that word from colonial to clownolial because that was a clown who came, not a colonial person. So, but that's my word. Share it if you want. He was a clown. Yeah, so back to talking about these two-spirit gatherings are so important. For me, they are important because this is where we're allowed to come together as one from across Canada, across USA, the younger generations coming in. and sitting with the ones that carry the knowledge and sharing. And usually at these gatherings, they're asked to bring a part of their ceremony wherever they're from and share that. And it's so beautiful. And usually they're for 4 days. That's not long enough, because why I say that is there's so many young people coming out to these gatherings who are really, really in a shell. Like their shell is so harsh. And they're just sitting there the first day looking at everybody, wondering. So this is when we go around breaking the ice, joking around with them, telling them you can be whoever you want to be. You're around your own people. You're in a safe place. Just be yourself. On day 2, you can see they're hatching. Day 3, they're so beautiful. They're just themselves. They're able to laugh. They're able to share their love, share their stories. And then when it comes to day 4, that's the sad part, when it's over. And in our language, there's no goodbye. We just say, we'll see you again. So that's why I say, we need to get more of these things happening for our younger generation, because these are the ones who are going to be carrying on the knowledge that we carry. For myself, I was raised on a reservation. My grandmother, my grandfather, my great-grandfather raised me. My parents were in the city. But being raised in the way that I was raised, we were being raised with our culture, our tradition, without even knowing that, because it had no labels. It was just the way
just life,
we were raised and lived. Until I came to the cities, when I started hearing all these labels, not knowing what they meant, and when I go finding out about them, wait a minute, we grew up this way. My grandmother used to do these things, but still, because of residential school, a lot of that was taken away. And even the language itself was taken away from so many people. But when you hear the language, you feel it here. Because usually when I pray from the heart. I talk to Creator, and I know that Creator loves me and hears me. So is everybody else. And when we pray, we don't pray for nothing. Creator does really hear us, whether it's in a language or not. And the other thing too is that, we need to take care of ourselves. We're all on the same earth, Mother Earth. Doesn't matter what the race is, nationality. We all gotta love one another. And if we have sacred ceremonial ways that we can share with other people to have a good life, well, by all means, come take what we have to offer. As long as you know protocol, do things right. And it's beautiful. And I've been dancing jingle 20 years or more. Jingle dress throughout the Powwow Trail. I love it because I feel so accepted, and I feel the love from the people that I meet, and I love them also. It's all respectful and doing that protocol. And there's starting to be more, I'm starting to see more two-spirited dancers out there, and I just love it because I've been by myself for so long dancing as a two-spirited dancer, but still I'm family with the powwow people. And it's okay to be two-spirited and come in and dance, and I often say that, especially when it comes to powwow. I even carry in the two-spirit flag, and it's being accepted everywhere because people need to realize and know, and I'll never stop saying that we are people as anybody else. So I've been doing this for quite some time, and I'm not ever going to stop until the day I can't walk, is when I still probably won't stop anyways. I'll keep going. So I love meeting people, and I encourage all these people that are so small-minded and bullying, harassing two-spirit. You don't realize how two-spirit, when you have a two-spirit in your family, that's a gift. and you should take it as such. Creator does not make mistakes. It's the people that make mistakes. And if we were to learn and respect that even more, this world would be such a beautiful place to live, not the way it is today. And I often say that to raise this two-spirit, it's up to you how this two-spirit is going to be raised. You nurture it, you teach it, and it's going to have a beautiful life. For myself, I was so accepted on the reservation. I grew up with a lot of my female cousins, and I'm just who I am today. I was born male. I'm still male, but I chose to live as a female. I never did nothing to transform or whatever it's called. I'm going to leave the way I came in, and I love myself for who I am. That's where it all begins, is learn to love yourself for who you are. One of the things I always remember my grandmother telling us as children, "We count it to kewa is a kiki to it. We kaga chikega is now is it. And go music. We got nigga that is it. You to sema is smart is it. We naga to kawagi ten. We how is smart sig. Kitus is tomo masasan. Isigi machip matters, Habajiga Mashina Pinatakian. And basing me up matters, Habajiga Minos Senuma. We call it. And translation, what she was telling us as children, made no sense to us as children, but now as we're older, it makes so much sense in a way. Where she would tell us, don't ever lose your language. Don't ever be ashamed of how you look. And always be careful of how you treat people. Because in this life, you're making your nest where you're going to lay when your time is up. If you're going to be a terrible person, live a horrible life, you're going to have a horrible place to rest. If you're going to be a beautiful person and you try your best to be who you can be, you're going to have a nice place to rest. So I'll always carry that. And I can still hear her little voice. She was such a tiny little woman, but she was really feisty. I remember her. I love her still. I know she's still with me. And the other thing too is that we didn't have Catholic churches around. And I don't remember them ever talking about going to residential school. The only thing, so we were raised differently with just pure love, no hatred, no like the way the stories that I hear about residential school, that's where it all came from. But it's not to blame the Anishinaabe. They were forced into that. And I'm really grateful that we never learned these things about hatred. And also, I'm really fortunate that we were raised the way we were, in a quiet reservation where there was a big lake in front of us and behind us was all forest. Beautiful place to be. Sometimes I miss my childhood because it's such a beautiful childhood. We were protected from alcohol and drugs. We never knew anything about those because my grandparents never drank. The only thing I remember, my grandfather was always chewing snuff, but that's pretty much it. That's quite gross, but still. Yeah, so the teachings that I have, I share always. I never keep anything back. And I love sharing them because if I don't share them, what's going to happen? And a lot of people hold back the knowledge that they carry, and they should share it because our time is limited on Mother Earth. We're not going to be here forever. And the other thing maybe I could talk about too is that I raised a child from the age of 3. She's now 28. She has 2 children, one more on the way. That was quite difficult. Not raising her, but from society. I always had a full-time job, so I raised her on my own. And Even today, I told her you should call me $40. Always call me, do you have $40 for it? Oh my God. And in society at that time, when they knew that I was raising this girl, they would come up to me and ask me, what are you doing with this child? She's going to end up like you. Well, do you even know who I am? Why are you saying that? I'm the one raising this child, not you. And I raised her the way I was raised. I protected her from alcohol, drugs. I lost all my friends, but that didn't matter. And I knew that my life was over because I had to circle around her the way her life is going to be. So one day she came up to me and she says, Mom, I'm going to raise my kids the way you raised me. That just made me cry. I said, oh, at least I did something, one good thing in my life that's worth talking about. And so I try and live my best for my grandchildren. And I'm going to be around to see them as adults. It doesn't matter what happens because I love them, and that's what it's all about, loving.
Well, thank you, Cookham Gale, for sharing your truth with us. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit more about what Two-Spirit means.
Okay.
I'm queer myself, and then part of that is 2S LGBTQ+. The 2S, Two-Spirit. I know some people know a little bit about what it means to be trans, but Two-Spirit is more than that. It has so much depth and significance to those words. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to learn more about what that means.
Mm-hmm. People do approach me on this subject about what the two-spirited teachings are. To me, there is no two-spirited teachings. Because the reason I say that, I go to ceremony, I sundance, I go to powwows, sweats, shake tents, any kind of ceremony, you weepy. And we do these things the same way. But we carry different spirits as being a two-spirit, as we're able to walk with grandmothers and grandfathers at the same time. Like for myself, I know I've been told more than once that I have two powerful grandmothers that take care of me in the spirit realm. And these are ancestors, two grandmother ancestors that walk with me. And I have one grandfather spirit that does walk with me. But this term two-spirit, also, I know there's heterosexual that use that term because they walk with the two spirits also, but they're not gay. So a lot of times when it comes to pronouns, especially the youth, the younger people, I tell them, you don't have to use that term if you don't feel comfortable with it. Whatever is in here, use that. So when they say two-spirit, I know it's got such a big title of having to be traditional, having to be Anishinaabe. And I use it myself simply because it's so well known now, and nowadays there's so much pronouns out there, it's just driving me nuts. But need to be respectful to the youth, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But give me a break. Oh my God, I can't even control my phone. Never mind these terms too. All these other terms that are coming out. There was a project, but it closed down out in the Maritimes, and it was 9 genders. And I wish I could have brought some information on that. And that was really interesting, like how the 9 genders were all printed out, and it came out of a sweat. So two-spirit to me would mean, and the way we would call that is Nizochak. That's two-spirit. It's either Nizochak Kwe or Nizochak Inina, two-spirited woman or two-spirited man. And also the other term for that would be Agokwe, which is hidden woman. Like there's a hidden woman inside the male. And this is when you live as a female, even though you're male, like myself. And just the other one would be Agonine, or hidden man, where the female doesn't feel female but feels male. So it's up to however you feel comfortable living your life and the
So it's living
pronoun
what's
that
in
you
your
live
heart
with.
then.
Yes, it's all here. You just gotta go by that.
So in your story, you talk about you kept your language and you share it. You share the knowledge and teachings. One of the things is what role do newcomers or non-Indigenous people like myself have in helping rebuild and reclaim that language and culture of Indigenous people? You know, what sort of role can we play, whether that's advocates or allies?
The advice I'd give you is come to our ceremonies, go to a Sundance, go to a powwow, get involved. You can walk that walk and you'll be able to talk that talk. It's nothing hard at all. The Sundance that I go to is so open to anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter your nationality. You're curious to know what it is. So they come, they're not involved in the Sundance, but they're allowed to sit around the outside and watch what's going on. And that's the only way you can learn. Like if I were to tell you, that's different because I have to explain. But if you were there, you could feel it yourself in here of what's going on. And you can use that.
Yeah, so getting involved, becoming a friend, becoming a neighbor.
Yes. Love thy neighbor.
Wow. Cookham Gale, thank you so much for sharing your truth with us. It's powerful, and stories like yours are important to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And like Cookham Gale said, go to Sundances, go to powwows, learn, become a friend, become a neighbor. That's how we can walk the path towards the future. I'm Ryan Funk with You Multicultural. This was We Stand Together. Thank you for watching.